Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making some oversized dowels with our lathe duplicator. Well, it wasn't that long ago on the show that we made our lathe duplicator, and hopefully some of you tried that project. I have a project coming up, most likely next week on this show, that requires an oversized dowel. And what I was thinking is, why could that duplicator not be used to make dowels of larger sizes? All you really need is, instead of your template being curved, your template would be straight and it would just coincide with the radius of your dowel. Let's head over to the lathe and start checking out the jig, and I'll show you what I'm thinking about. So the very first thing that you need to do is install your duplicator onto your lathe bed. And once you get your duplicator in place, we're just going to replace our tailstock here onto the bed of the lathe. Well, at the headstock I have a step center installed, and this is what I will be using to turn our oversized dowels. And what I need to start off with is a reference point for the very center of this step center. And for that, I'm going to use a plumb bob. I know it's a little overkill, but you know what? It'll give the perfect measurement. So all I'm going to do is line up this string with the point of our step center, which is the center of our turning, and I'm going to give myself a mark down here on our duplicator. That is the center of our turning. So I need to take a measurement now from this mark to our duplicator, just so that we have a reference. And I'd like to get this center line measured all the way along and marked out. So in taking this measurement on my jig, that distance from the edge of our riser here for our template to our center point of our headstock is 1 and 9/32, it looks like to me. So that represents the center of our oversized dowel. So if we need a 1-inch dowel, we will need to come back this way with our template by 1/2 inch, which would be the radius of our circle. So that's an important thing to remember, that you're halving the size. Now I will need a dowel that's 1.5 inches in diameter, so for me I will need to take this measurement back by 3/4 inch. And 1 and 9/32 minus 3/4 is 17/32 of an inch. Now that seems like a very bizarre number, but it's important to us. So that 17/32 will represent the edge of our template. And from there, what we need to do is add the distance of the width of our riser. And for that, our riser was 1 3/4 inch wide. So we'll need 17/32 plus 1 3/4 inch, and that will equal 2 9/32. So all we really need to do is we need to cut a piece of 1/4 inch MDF that is going to be the length of our dowel, so that we have a template to follow. And technically we should be able to cut the width at 2 9/32, and that will, using our duplicator, produce a 1.5 inch dowel. Whether or not it works out, that remains to be seen. So on our dowel template, I have now marked out 3 holes here, which all coincide with the mounting holes on our riser that we would normally mount our template on. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to center punch these, and then I'm going to take them over to the drill press, drill a through hole, and we're going to mount this on the riser of our duplicator jig. And now that we have those holes drilled, we can just mount them on our riser, and your back edge should line up perfectly flush with the back edge of your riser. I think there's one more thing that we need to do, and what that deals with is the stylus that mounts in the tool holder of our duplicator. My thought process here is that this stylus rides along our template, and I was thinking of using a finishing chisel to finish off the dowel, and this duplicator on the face of this stylus now has the ability to pivot left or right, and I really don't want that. I want more control. I want to be able to run this chisel completely flat side to side without the bother of pivoting. And what I'm going to do for that is we're going to make a new stylus. So in order to make our new stylus, I have a piece of 3/4 inch thick MDF. It's 5.5 inches long, and the width of it coincides with the width of our aluminum bar that we used for our stylus. This piece of aluminum bar is just over 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is I've got a nice flat surface here. I'm using a piece of MDF so I don't get any glue on my bench, and I'm just going to insert this aluminum bar into the slot. I'm going to glue it in place. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to use CA or epoxy, but while we're gluing it up, we just want to get a square in there and hold it in place and ensure that we're getting a square fit for this aluminum bar. And this, once it's glued up, will end up replacing the stylus that we use normally to do a shaped duplication. And we'll just let that set up. While we're waiting for the stylus to dry, I have the blank prepared, and I'm just gonna use the roughing chisel here of the Easy Wood tools in our tool holder, and we're just gonna turn it to round to its rough shape. Well, I've now changed up chisels to the finishing chisel, and I have placed our new stylus here in the tool holder. The front edge of our stylus here is lined up with the front edge of our cutter here so that this is equal to this. And all we're going to do is continue to cut until we get our stylus riding along the edge of our MDF template, and we should get the size dowel that we want, in this case 1.5 inches. Until such time though, I will be checking it to make sure that I've done this correctly. Well, I'm going to stop it right there because I can already see I've got a problem, and this was an experiment from the get-go. And although I have no doubt it'll work, what I've done is I've cut my template the wrong way. It should actually, I should have extended it beyond the center mark of our head and tailstock, not reduced it back. So I have to make a brand new template. So just give me a minute and let me correct that. Well, I've remade our template, and it turns out, I don't know where my head was thinking, but I need to mimic, the way this jig works is it mimics the outer edge. For some reason, I was thinking I was mimicking this edge. Thank goodness I caught that before it got too far. But I've adjusted our template now. We're mimicking the outer edge of our dowel right along here. I've trimmed a little bit off of our new stylus because it interfered with our tailstock. No harm, no foul. We caught it in time, learned from our mistakes, and we're gonna move on now to finish turning this down to its final dimension. We're gonna check it as we go just to make sure that our template is the right size. Well, we have this completely turned down, and truth be told, it's a little too big. But that's okay, I'm not concerned. That could be something as simple as an adjustment of our stylus here. And that's what we're going to do at this point to adjust it. So we're going to move the stylus back away from the chisel tip, and that will allow our stylus to protrude a little further and get a little deeper cut. Now you don't want to move a lot because we're not that much bigger. So just a little touch, and then we're going to take another pass and take another measurement. So I've just checked that there, and we're actually a little too small now. So we're just going to shift this stylus ever so slightly forward, tighten it down, and see how we make out with that. Well, that there is 1.5 inches right on the money, but we need to do some sanding, so I don't think I want it that tight. I'm going to make another adjustment to give us some room to sand, and then we'll turn this down to its final dimension. And with a little sanding, we've ended up with a dowel that's pretty much consistently 1.5 inches in diameter all the way across. So I'd say that today's experiment was a success, wouldn't you? And there you have it. Oversized dowels made on the lathe using the duplicator that we made here on the show. Guys, this started off as I wonder if. It actually started off with, where can I purchase this size of dowel? And then I thought to myself, why am I paying somebody for this size dowel when I could make my own of much better quality? This dowel is 1.5 inches in diameter, perfect from end to end. I took extra care to make it that way, and it's solid maple. Show me somewhere in one of these big box stores where you're going to get 1.5 inches perfect maple dowel for sale. Like, you're just not going to find it. Guys, this is beyond believable and a great way to make oversized dowels. Now, here's the thing. That template that we made, we had a little bit of a crazy time there at the beginning for my head working in reverse, or not working, as it may be, but we corrected those problems and brought that edge out. It wasn't the exact dimension that we wanted. However, as you saw, by adjusting the stylus, you could fine tune. So as long as you have the range of the stylus to ride on the template and everything is secure, you could use that same template and just continue expanding the arm out to make larger dowels, or pull it in more so that your tool protrudes further to make smaller dowels. I wouldn't go too small with the length on these because you wouldn't want it to start wobbling. That's why we have the router table dowel jig and those sort of things. Guys, this is a lot of fun. Not exactly time, it's not exactly time efficient to make these. So if you need a lot of them, don't use this method. If you just need one, like what I need, this is perfect. Now, what are we going to use this for? Well, you know what? It may not be this week coming. It may not be the week after. But you're going to see how I use this very soon, as long as you come back and join me when I bring you yet another woodworking video.